later than I thought it was. Oops.
Oops.
Oops. Hello.
Hello.
Quick reveal because it's later. I even got in almost on time today. And yet it's later than it should be. It's not fair. Hi, how are you doing today?
Oh,
Welcome to the Sun Dragon Sideshow. Let's talk about welcome to the Sun Dragon Sideshow. No, we're not gonna do that to you. Welcome to the Sun Dragon Sideshow.
The Dear Becky and Lizzie edition.
Yes. And we have one. And I'm in, oh my gosh, hang on. Everything's falling all over the place.
Issues,
Hi.
not a thing.
I'm Rebecca. I'm the owner of Sun Dragon Art and Fiber in Brevard, North Carolina. And I usually say the weather, but I was distracted by this. It can't decide what it wants to do today. It is overcast and chilly and thinking about rain, but that's probably not coming till tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
And then the weekend. Okay.
I'm Liz. I'm the minion there.
Oh, we didn't even like take down much of the yarn. Did you take down just enough so
I
we
just
could see?
kind of whooped it this way.
We piled this up after filming yesterday. We were like, and piled it up so I could do my lessons. And yeah, it's a hot mess. So
hot.
But then you can see the yarn of the week a little bit still, at least the big fluffy stuff. Okay, got my mask off. Many things potentially on the docket for today. So where to start? I actually think this is where I should start.
Yeah. Rebecca has it finished. I'm working on mine.
When she said yesterday she was going to have it finished, I was like, okay.
I was. And life.
Knowing how life is right now, I went, okay. Again, it was not to be disparaging about your skills. It was a, really? Life.
When you calculate out that you have 15 hours, which is closer to 20 hours, and you still have to sleep, eat, work.
Oh, skip all that.
You know,
like who needs that?
I've thought about staying up late a few nights, but we've been there, done that, and it does not end well.
That's probably why I couldn't function yesterday. It was like my second or third day of trying to catch up from Monday.
Yep.
I went home last night and heated up my leftovers and sat down and tried to knit. And eventually just had to go to bed. Like, it's not even that we're so crazy busy. It would explain that. It's just, I'm just tired.
You stayed
but
up
see,
late.
It's a broken record. How many times have you all heard me say I'm tired? So they're just like, well, how was that different? It was different last night, let me tell you. So I'm wearing this guy again, but I brought this in yesterday, but we didn't want to waste any time on the VSC with it. Again, it looks a little big, and it is a little big, but it definitely shrunk up from being wet.
Yeah.
This is my Goldenfern. We are now going to see just how humongous it will be on me because it's just a lesson. I think I told y'all that when I started this, I was bigger. That's the first thing to keep in mind. And I didn't rip back and change the size. I'm just like, this is it. Because what if I get bigger again? Then I have a sweater
It'll
that fits
just
me.
be comfy.
But then when I blocked it, it grew. And you can probably see little ends hanging off of here. I've sewn my ends in, I just haven't clipped them short. And you can see where I distributed the wrinkle so it could dry up. And and it's still a little wrinkly, but not as wrinkly. Oh, I just pulled on some floats because I'm wearing my rings. So this is fingering weight fiber skates. Liz is giving me the limelight. Just kidding.
No,
After blocking.
Ooh, that actually fits really nice.
It's roomy here, but it's kind of meant to be. Like, and the collar is wider than the sorrel I was just wearing, but it's meant to be. So
I think that fits you
actually
really nice.
Yeah. Like, again, it's big. Like if I hold it out, it's big. But my girl, I have girls. And we had this discussion a week ago.
Boobs.
I don't, cause boobs. Again, plug your ears if this is offensive speech. But like, but we're not gonna swear. So, you know, Jeff said last week's episode should be called cause boobs. You know? And my girl, this fits really nicely where the girls are. And I don't do the bust shaping because that is such trial and error. It's difficult. So it's roomy down here, but actually, yeah.
I think it hangs in a nice place.
general disclaimer. I don't like looking at myself sideways because I feel kind of thick, but we are all our own worst critics, right? So what I see may not be what everyone else sees. And I try to let go of that, but I like it like this. I like looking straight on at it.
I think if you wanted to wear a colored shirt, it gives you room for the added bulk down the sleeves.
It's got a loose collar. Look at that, right? And I think this blocked nicely. If y'all remember when I was wearing it before, that ribbing down there
kept flipping
up. I didn't pin it down. The weight of it damp.
Yeah.
Was enough for this to block out, and it looks like it doesn't. This is what I'm talking about with blocking, especially with wools. This is a superwash merino. You can just barely see it over these guys. I might have to take them down just a little bit or stand on tippy toe. Wool can relax a little bit with washing, and the superwash especially. The relaxing worked here because it's not flipping up on me. If I had not done the little, let's help it shrink back into shape. If I had pinned it, if I had just flattened it and pinned it, this would be probably 3 inches longer and at least a couple inches wider than it is right now. So I did not pin it. In fact, I had a pin in the collar and I took it out. I put pins around it to have the basic lengths I wanted for when I flipped it over to help it dry. But it did a lot of that work on its own. I even like the back. Look at that.
Oh yeah.
It's not even puckering in the back. Sweet. I was fully expecting to put this on and have to go, well, it's not perfect, and it isn't. But I was expecting to have to go, well, this is some of what happens with superwash, and it will grow, and it did grow. If you go back and look at the ones before, like where that sleeve is only down to here last week, this is a slightly different shape. But if anything, it's settled and it's nice. And
there is a difference from which hand you held your yarn in.
Yeah. Like these, or I don't know.
Or how comfortable you were with the 12s.
I don't know if it was how I was holding my gauge or, and some of that is, I have my watch on right now. It's bulging this one, but my sleeves look different, right? This is more pronounced and even than this. But as long as I don't go around going, look, my sleeves are different. This is fine. I'm happy with it. The sleeves did grow a little bit, but actually right now they're at that comfy. When I was a teenager, I loved having my sleeves.
I love
like down here like this, like the Rory look on Gilmore Girls. Like if there were thumb holes,
it would be even better.
It'd be perfect. But I could make little loops for my thumbs to just keep it there. But like that's actually pretty comfy. I tend to wear my sweaters like this anyway. And as I pull it up, I can feel where the very first row of this is a little tight. But I could try to just be, because it's so fancy down there, I'll try to just be like, ta-da. Yeah, you can totally see this is different than this. I did not do them 2 at a time. I may have held the contrast and main yarns in different hands. I can't remember. Or it could have just been my tension. I want to say it was probably this one. I know I held my contrast in my left hand. And they say that sometimes in patterns, if you want it to really be pronounced, hold the contrast, I believe they say in your left hand. And I was like, but they're continental knitters. That must be why. And I'm not. So, some people have said, well, it depends on which hand you hold dominant, yarn in. I think they're actually right, but I can't remember if I held it in a different hand for this one, or if I just wasn't paying attention to my tension as well. I'm okay with it though. This looked like this when I first did it, and over time, even before blocking, it settled nicely.
Oh yeah.
So I'm very happy with this. Thank you all for your patience. When I was like, on Tuesday it wasn't dry, on Wednesday I was like, I'm not going to do it today. You had to wait till today. I hope it was worth the wait. So okay, all right, what's next? Why don't we do our question next? I have Mousecapades. But I want to make sure that we address the whole point of today's show is to do Dear Becky and Lizzie things. And I'm feeling like there was something I should have brought in for the Dear Becky and Lizzie today.
I have some. And
no, I think when you told me the Dear Becky and Lizzie, I was like, ooh, I should. And I didn't.
It happens.
I don't remember what the question is though anymore, because that's how my brain is functioning right now.
So. I have it right here. So.
Oh, good. Liz is in charge of that. That's why Liz is in charge of that.
Okay. Dear Becky and Lizzie. How do you work with beads and shawls? Where do you find nice beads? What size beads are normally used? Not beading yet.
Okay. That reminded me, I have a beaded sweater at home. And it's from my days before I would have, like, back when I would have done what a lot of my knitters here in the shop do of saying, well, I'm not a very good knitter, or I'm an intermediate, or I'm a, you know, downplaying and saying, I don't know. I don't work with beads a lot. I'm just going to be totally up and honest about that. And some of that is finding good beads. And some of that is the hassles that come with beading. The beaded sweater I have at home, it doesn't mean you shouldn't. I'm seeing the wrinkles in this now, and I'm just gonna let it be. Refocusing. The beaded sweater I had at home, I pre-strung the beads. It was a nightmare. I mean, it was worth it. It's pretty, but oh my gosh, like each ball of yarn, I'd have to put so many, and you'd have to hope you had enough beads on there to slide them up when you needed them, and over bead, if anything, with little balls of yarn. And then you got to slide off the ones that you don't use and put them on the next one. And there's a whole thing with beading of making sure you have the right size for your project. I know Liz has worked with beads. I'm gonna let her speak in a second. I just want to finish up my little thoughts here. I think I've
Generally, they're like seed beads.
They can be. They might be the seed bead size.
Yeah.
But they're not always like the seed beads you used on your big thing.
Some of my seed beads weren't seed beads; they were actually pearls.
Yeah, right.
So on.
And that's But ooh, I just want to say one thing, and then because you have more to say probably. There's a way you can use a crochet hook to get them on, so you don't have to pre-string them. And I definitely advocate for that. And it's been so long, I don't remember how to do that right now. If you find one with a pattern, hopefully they'll tell you the right size, because there's so many sizes of beads. And like one of the yarn shops I worked at, sorry, I was like, I feel it coming. One of the yarn shops I worked at had a small supply of beads, but it's like even more challenging than yarn, of like having the right color bead to go with the yarn, to go with the, and there used to be some fantastic bead shops in the Asheville area, and I don't know if they all exist anymore.
I was pointed for where to find beads. When we were in Seattle, I was walking around Michael's looking for beads that didn't exist in a big box store. And I mean,
and they usually don't.
Yeah. They have some, but not what I was looking for.
It's the same thing as yarn. They'll have yarn, but not necessarily what's going to work for everybody's project, especially when it's fine, delicate work. So.
And one of the ladies in there was like, have you heard of Shipwreck Beads? And I was like, no. And so I Googled them, and they were 5 minutes from my house. And I went online and I ordered, because it was, we'll ship locally for this much money, whatever. And I was like, sweet. So I ordered Shipwreck Beads, even though they were 5 minutes from my house. And I got they have more beads than, it's
amazing.
Bead heaven. And I went in there once. We lived 5 minutes from them for like 3 years. And I went in there once because it's like a Walmart sized store full of beads. Not the big Walmart, the super Walmarts, but the old timey Walmarts, Anyway, full of beads. Every bead you ever wanted. Pearls, seed beads, you kind of lose your mind going in, so it's just easier to go online and order. If you know what size beads and whatnot, they have everything.
Well, and I would put on the disclaimer of hang on, I'm getting there. I got distracted by my sweater. I'm feeling my sweater.
Okay.
Pictures online may not be true color. So sometimes you want to get a color that complements or contrasts with the yarn you're using, because you will if you try to match the yarn you have, it's going to arrive and you're going to be like, that's not what I ordered. But it's almost impossible.
Yeah.
Between our cameras or their cameras and their editing technology and their website server and your viewing device to have true color.
Yeah. But they have, so
she brought the props.
I brought the props.
I might bring my sweater in on Tuesday so you can see it, but again, I have grown as a knitter a lot since then.
So this is the first project I beaded.
Is that the one you said you'd never bead again, and then you did?
I would never bead again, and people were to bring guns and shoot me, so I wouldn't bead again if I ever had a thought. Like,
and then she did,
and then I did,
and we weren't allowed to shoot her, but I wasn't gonna shoot her.
Part of the reason I said that was, okay, so I did seed beads.
So yeah, okay.
In part of it that I could pull on with my crochet hook.
The ones I have at home are seed beads too. It's just the diameter inside a bead is like, they're all different, and so you have to know what diameter you need inside the bead to make sure the yarn fits through it, if it's going
and your
to be,
hook and everything else. Then every other one of those, instead of being a seed bead, was a Sweetwater pearl, and
those you stitched
the
on.
diameter was barely big enough to get a needle and thread through, so I had to hand sew 100 of them. I don't recommend that at all.
I went through a phase where I was doing, like, there was a book. I'll see if I can remember and find it. It was about making jewelry, like knitted jewelry with beads and stuff. And I went through a phase right after I came down here to when I was teaching in Georgia. I had a little bowl. I don't even know if I have any of this stuff anymore. I had a little bowl, and you can get like a little hook thing that will that if you spin the bowl and you have the hook at just the right angle, it will feed the beads on. It's so cool. But again, it's a lot of, we love gadgets and gizmos here in the shop, but it's a lot of extra thing. That was more for someone who was going to be actually doing beading and making jewelry out of beads instead of like incorporating them into knitting. And like, because sometimes those have smaller holes and they won't work for doing it with yarn unless you're going to do it like Liz and stitch them on. And oh my gosh,
these seed beads,
but they are such a pretty accent.
They, like, I did them all around my thistle.
You see the little sparkles?
Yeah. The seed beads work better, but you have to have like a tiny little hook to pull them on. So,
and that's the kind I had like way back when, but we don't stock stuff like that here. Some shops might, but really is, it's hit or miss with that.
I had fun-ish.
They have mats that are like sticky that you can put your beads on so they don't roll away all over the floor, and then you can pick them up that way. Like there are gadgets and gizmos for beading. Absolutely.
And just because I didn't like it doesn't mean somebody else won't like it. But
you can totally go down a rabbit hole with this. And it's awesome. It is time consuming though. It is very time consuming. So know that going in. And I don't know if so we've got Shipwreck Beads online.
Yeah.
Do they ship further than local?
They ship everywhere.
Okay.
Everywhere. And I because I ordered
I feel like we've gotten other recommendations, but I don't have them in front of me.
Shipwreck Pearls, I think, is like the biggest online or
if I can find the link, I'll put it in the description.
If you know of another one, but like
put it in the comments.
Put it in the comments. They have everything. Like when I do my little jingles on my ankles, that's where I get my bells, because you can get like 100 of them.
Well, and there used to be one in West Asheville, and like a shop, and I don't think they're there anymore.
There was one downtown Asheville,
and there was one in Clarksville, Georgia, right down the road. There was one
here in town,
right down the road from where I got my first job working in a knit shop. Like I went to because that's when I was into the beaded jewelry thing, and then I talked to the publisher of the book, and she's like, you can't sell things you make from this book, and so I didn't do that as much anymore. But it was a venture for a little while. It was like an experiment, you know. And I went to the bead shop, and then I went to the knit shop, and I kind of started living in the weekends on the knit shop. So
one does.
And that bead shop, I think she left before there was a fire up in that whole complex where her shop was. I only went there once or twice, but bead shops are going to cater to the whole range of people who use beads, which is for really fine detail work on fine mesh to make jewelry and things, like more on the fishing wire type stuff. And I'm sure there's other proper terminology for materials for making beaded jewelry. I'm not an expert in that. But beaded you need
jewelry, beaded clothes.
You need bigger beads than you find at a lot of bead shops to use them in knitting, unless you want to hand sew them on like Liz does. But there is again, I'm not the expert. There is terminology for the size of beads and the numbers on them, and hopefully a well-written Not all patterns are well written. They're still fun and you still want to do them. But the well-written ones will tell you exactly what size you need.
Yes.
For the yarn.
And hopefully close to how many.
And some, like with buttons, like same thing with buttons and patterns. Some patterns will say you need 5 half-inch buttons or so many millimeter buttons. And other ones will be like, you need 5 buttons. And it's like, that's not helpful. I mean, it's partially helpful because there's a number, but it's not helpful if your buttonholes are this big and you buy buttons that are this big, or vice versa. You know, it's like, so
and most like with beads, it's the interior diameter, like we were talking. So if you can't get your yarn through it, it's not helpful.
It's not helpful. Or you've got to Frankenstein it then. You've got to sew them on, like Liz did, or you know.
For the pearls, I bought
and that's
a 0.4 millimeter hook. It's like a size 20 steel hook. Like most people use it for playing with dreads in their hair because it's so fine. And I got it to try and see if I could push it through the inside diameter of the pearls, and it was still too big. Like
microscopes.
Yeah.
And then do you want to use microscopes? I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Like no. Just don't let me bead again.
Can you read the question one more time?
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
No worries. I'm going to put the stitch right back on.
I'm keeping her from making progress on her Christmas presents.
It's okay. We're going to show it off here in a minute.
We are?
Whether I'm done or not.
Okay, good.
How do you work with beads and shawls? Very carefully. Where do you find nice beads? Shipwreck or other online or local sources. What size beads do you normally use? Ones you can stick yarn through.
Yeah, there's a better answer than what size, you know, for than ones you can stick yarn, because that's not really helpful. But,
I'm not sure. Like, I know that these are seed beads, but there's a specific size of seed bead that it is.
And again, if I have time, that's the biggest oh gosh on this. I might try to stick something in the description that will talk about sizes, because I used to work with beads enough to know what sizes, but that was a long time ago, so those numbers are not on the top of my head. And I don't want to say the wrong thing here. So, but they're the two most common methods, apart from just sewing them on later, are either pre-stringing them, or there is a way to yank the yarn through with a crochet hook as you're going. There's a way to add them as you're going, and it's pretty cool. And it all depends on the pattern if they're going to give you help and advice on that.
It also, like, when I crochet them on, the crochet stitches, and I'm sure with knitting, if you crochet them on, it's going to have a different look. Like there's going to be a loop around them. It's
going to give, it's going to, they're even with pre-stringing them on, they're still where they pop out in front or in back, or like the type of stitch you do where they are. Like, I think the biggest difference is when they're pre-strung, you can put them in the stitch. And when you do them with a crochet hook, they end up being like kind of between the stitches.
The stitches around them.
Yes. Yeah. And it's so they might even look a little bit different, but the overall aesthetic of it, it's just fun. So it's not a reason not to do it. But I sometimes avoid patterns with beads in them for the shop, mainly because then I have to explain to people this has beads, but we don't sell beads, so I didn't make it with beads. I've done that a couple of times, but sometimes I will go and avoid it. I might advocate for it in the newsletter to say someone else do this, but when you can't get all the supplies at the shop, it makes it a little more difficult for me to be like, this is so cool, you should do it. Like, I should just advocate everything, and I would love to, but sometimes people get grumpy when I say, here, this is cool. And they're like, but I want to just get it all from you. And I would love you to get everything from me, but I can't carry everything. Wish I could. You know, all different yarns, all different colors, everything. This is a pretty big shop. It's not the biggest in the area, but it's a pretty big shop. And we don't have space for everything. There are spots in the shop that I'm like, oh, I wish so much.
If we could just get a library ladder.
We need library ladders, which again take up too much space in the shop. And we just need little TARDIS holes everywhere, or magic Santa bags where we can be like, whoop, look, here you go, boom. It's just hiding behind this door. and everything back. And there's a huge cavern back there. I wish we're not that magical, unfortunately. So, okay. Announcements, schedule. And then I have some mousecapades. What?
Shawl.
Oh, yes. Let me do mousecapades at the end. So we don't,
I'm
neglect.
300 stitches from being done.
Okay.
But, we can hold it up.
Really fast before we hold that up.
Okay.
Tomorrow's knit night.
Yep.
Liz and I have a candlelight vigil for a shop owner across the street who passed unexpectedly. So we should be home in time for knit night, which is 7 to 9 p.m.
Zoom code 828-877-3550.
If we're not on right at 7, it's because I'm still scrambling to get my dinner warmed up and the camera on and stuff. But join us when you can. This Sunday is virtual sit and stitch on Facebook Live and Zoom from 1 to 5 p.m. Anytime in that time you want to pop onto Facebook and hear what's happening, see me and hear what's happening, or come onto Zoom and just share some time with people. That is going on Sunday. The other thing there's a multiple things going on Sunday locally.
Oh yeah.
There is a maker's market. Like if you want to buy handmade things made by local people, there's one over by 185 King Street that some of our knitters will be participating in. If you want to buy handmade goods for Christmas, that is happening on Sunday afternoon. So if you're not with us and you're local, go check them out and support some local artists. Also, fairy hair. Erin from Fairy Hair. We're still not doing fairy hair here. We get calls all the time. I miss fairy hair, but I'm not going to go get some on Sunday because I'm going to be online at home. But Erin from Fairy Hair, who's out in Black Mountain, is making a stop in Brevard, not here. Let me be very clear about that.
Brevard Racket Club.
Brevard Health and Racket Club. I put a link on my Facebook page. If I remember, I'll put a link in this description if you would like fairy hair. If you don't know what fairy hair is and you live far away, I'm sorry. It's awesome and amazing and tied. What we get from Erin is amazing and sometimes can last up to a year in your hair if you don't cut it off or it doesn't fall out. And she ties it really well. It's sparkly stuff tied in. It's amazing. We used to do it all the time. You go back to my early pandemic episodes, both here and on Tips and Tricks, and I have sparkles in my hair. It's all fallen out or grown out at this point. But she has found an alternate location for locals. This Sunday, she will be at Brevard Health and Racket Club. You must sign up for an appointment ahead of time, just like you had to here. You can't just show up and say, dude, give me fairy hair. You have to wear a mask, all that kind of stuff. But I will try to put the Calendly link in this description. So because we're trying to get the word out to local Brevard people. Hopefully, if she does it again in January, we will try to get the word out sooner. So just be on the lookout for that. But go support her because she's awesome. And again, if we weren't doing an event on the same time, I would consider going. I'm still not going many people-y places, but know that that's happening. And then the schedule for next week is normal. So let's show off your Papillon. No show notes.
I haven't looked at this today. Spread out yet. Like when I was taking it off, it was all piled up in my.
So are we gonna maybe re-show it on Tuesday when it's
we could
off?
re-show it on Tuesday.
Oh, look how pretty that is. Let me wait, hang on. Let me do that. And then this might be our thumbnail. Oh my gosh, this is so pretty.
Candy.
These are my colors.
Candy was looking at it yesterday and she was like, I love the grays and the white. And you could do any color besides the green. And I was like, a hot pink would look absolutely stunning.
Olive green is like my color too.
Oh yeah.
So I really do love this.
Yeah.
This is like works of art, right? So, and no, she won't make one for you. I'm sorry. These are for her family. So
Candy also wants me to get a picture of all 4 of the Papillons so you can put it in the newsletter so everybody can see the kaleidoscope before it goes.
You know what would be really cool is if they will fit, we can do them on the center over there with the tips pointing in as like a big. We have plans. Okay,
good plans.
We might have to get a ladder in here for me to get a picture.
We
of that,
happen to have a ladder, but it's a short one. So,
are you talking about our step ladder?
Yeah,
it's 3 steps, maybe 4.
It's a short one, but it counts as a ladder. I'm a short minion, but I count as a minion.
I know,
a short
but
ladder.
we are short enough. We need a taller, but we digress. We'll do that later. Okay. Mousecapades. There actually were more this morning. We'll see if we have time. I want to share 2 stories from last week. We had someone who commented on yesterday's that she loves the Mousecapade stories, but then she can't sleep at night. I'm sorry. I had a mouse like try to hide under me from the cat this morning, so I'm gonna have trouble sleeping tonight. But you know, I think that might have been Peter Parker too. Although he only does his acrobatics on uneven surfaces like the stairs. So the mouse I'm calling Peter Parker. The past week or 2, there have been 2 run-ins, and I'm having them like we went 3 or 4 days without any Mousecapades, and then 2 nights in a row I've had Mousecapades. So either they're just coming back in, or I have so many mice in my house. I mean, it's because it's cold outside, right?
Or
That's
it's just the same one
over and over and over and over again.
Yeah,
I don't know. This one this morning was not getting caught.
I think it's Peter Parker.
Yeah, I'd like to believe there's only one mouse in my house and he just keeps making appearances, but
Avi has a friend. They go.
Avi does have a friend. He doesn't even try to put him in his mouth anymore. He just stares at him and goes, Mom, look. I mean, I don't want ripped apart mice in my house. Like, so I'm okay with that. I don't want to have to clean up after that, but I'd rather not have mice in my house, right? But then you all won't have stories to hear. This is my problem. I'm like, I'd love to get rid of all these mice, but then what stories would I share with you all? Okay, so backing up. So a couple of stories from the past few weeks that have just kind of blown my mind. We had, okay, that's right. Okay. I'm in the bathroom doing what you do in the bathroom first thing in the morning. And I'm hearing noises, and I usually hear noises in the bathroom because my theory is that the mice live behind the shower in the walls, because the cat will sit there and stare, and it sounds like there's a mouse in the shower, but when we move the curtain, there's nothing there. It's just the shower. So it's behind the shower lining, right? But this time I'm hearing sounds over by the sink. And I look, and yes, there's a mouse running along behind the wall. And I'm like, great. So finish up the thing I'm doing at the moment. And I'm like, now I am closed in the bathroom with the mouse. The cat is not in there. So we're doing the dance, right? Where he's running back and forth, and I'm going to this side to see if I can get him. And he's running behind the toilet and behind the sink. And there's a whole cluster of like recyclables and trash and new things I haven't put away in the corner next to the sink, near the door. Perfect place for a mouse to hide behind, because they can make themselves teeny tiny squished. So I'm moving things and he's running back that way, and I'm moving things and he's running back that way. And finally he's gone. And I realize the fancy basin for the sink that's on a stand like this has an open backside. So he's perfect. I can't move that. So it's a perfect place for him to hide. And I'm like, fine, I'll just let him be. And I start going about my morning routine. And then he's running around again. I'm like, I start moving things over in that corner by the door. In fact, I open up the door so that I can put things outside and have a clear, more open space where I can catch this guy and get him outside again with a box or something and not my hands. And he runs out the door. And I was like, oh, you don't want to do that, because I know the cat's out there. You don't want to do that. And I look out there, and yeah, the cat's after him. And they zip around the loft a little bit. Now, my loft has a railing up top where you can look over the railing and see down into the living room, and then a railing on the stairs. And so he does a little bit of this. And then all of a sudden, the mouse is jumping down the stairs a little bit. And then he and Avi are doing the dance on the stairs, back and forth. And I'm trying from up above them on the stairs to see if I can start to catch them. And they're back and forth. And then this is why he's Peter Parker. He starts jumping over the cat to the next stair down. And he's like, when the cat's like, I got you now, he's like, wee, on the stair. And then over to the next stair. And they're doing this little, like, he's like again, I don't like using terms that are rude, but like Mexican jumping beans, like he's doing this whole, like, that's what I'm thinking of. Is like, he's like, woo, And I have bookcases up against the stairs, these railings. And he starts doing the dance and the jump and the dance and the jump. And as soon as he clears those bookshelves where the railing is open space, this is still a good 4 or 5 feet off the ground. He makes a run for the railing and I think he might have missed the couch. I think he might have landed on the floor behind the couch, but he went sailing. And I was just like, oh crap. You know, again, Peter Parker, if he could have shot little webs, we would have seen him go straight across my living room. But he goes sailing. Like, if we think about how long of a drop that would be for a person, oh my gosh, like sailing. And I'm just like, he's just left to his death, right? But no, he lands and zoop, he's under the couch. And it's like,
it was before you knew how far he could really jump.
Because the next story. So I think that the cat went after him down there and might have grabbed him. Or maybe it was another time that he grabbed him and ran down the stairs in his mouth. But then he dropped him. Like, there's multiple times when then it's just like, I want to say that was Friday morning, because then Friday night when we're sitting with Knit Night, I'm seeing a mouse stalk around like the edges of downstairs, like behind the cat tower, and the cat is still over in the corner staring at the boxes going, mom, he's over here. I'm like, no, he's over here now. Mom, he's over here. Come help me. He's over. No, cat, I see him on the other side of the room. So Friday night after Knit Night, when I'm like, oh, great. It was either Friday or Saturday night. This next story happened because I'm getting
Friday night.
Does it? Okay. I'm getting ready for bed. And like, I think the mouse is downstairs and done. And either this is a different mouse or the mouse got back upstairs. And I'm not surprised if he just, it's Peter Parker. He's really Spider-Man.
Probably took him upstairs.
Probably. And then he escaped because I'm getting ready for bed. And I hear commotion. When I hear commotion, the cat is not that interested in all the crap in my house. He's only making a commotion if there's a mouse involved. And I go upstairs, or I'm upstairs, like this is on the other side of the bathroom wall. My sewing table is there. And I go around and he's sitting on my sewing table. He like never gets up on the furniture in this, like there's no window there. There's no reason for him to be up on the furniture. And I'm like, you are crapping me. There cannot be a mouse on my sewing. Like, I don't use my sewing table at all anymore. So I could see something hiding there because I don't use it. And he's over by the sewing machine saying, mom. And I'm looking at the other side where all of my, my spools of yarn are stacked up. I'm like, it can't be back here, can it? And it runs out from trying to avoid the mouse. And I'm just like, he's probably this far from my face. And I'm just like, oh, hello, there's mouse. Because I was here at the table looking, right? And he starts doing the dance between the two of us where the cat's over there and I'm over here and I'm trying to move things maybe so I can get at him. He takes a flying leap over my shoulder. And he's running around on the loft floor. And I'm like, I turn around to go, okay, now I can maybe have a chance at him. And he doesn't even hesitate. He makes a beeline for that railing that is the top of the loft. He makes a beeline for it and just launches himself. And I'm saying like this is probably at least a good 12 feet higher than the floor of my living room. He just launches himself. And I get up to the railing. I'm like, that did not just happen. And I kind of like had a semi glimpse of him in midair, doing this. And he probably was like, wee. and then I hear the crunch of our shopping bags. I have a couple of them down there. And my first thought was, oh no, he's in my knitting. My second thought was, did he make it? And then I look over.
Squash dead mouse.
I finished like getting to the railing to look over, and I see a little mouse run under the couch, the chair part, the smaller one, and I was just like, "You have got to be kidding me!" I think the language coming out of my mouth was probably stronger, but I'm trying to keep this kid friendly. I was just like, at that point, I was like, "You have earned the right to hide under your couch for a little bit." I am just no. Holy crap. Like, I have never seen a mouse do that. I'm sure someone else who's watching has, but I was just like, that's when he earned the name Peter Parker. And the one this morning, again, y'all are probably thinking I live in the filthiest, weirdest, nastiest house. I promise it's not. We just apparently have a lot of mice.
She lives in the middle of the woods.
I live in the middle of the woods.
Cold, and they're all trying to come in.
It's not the cleanest house in the world, but it's also not the messiest. It really isn't. They're all just trying to hide from the cold. And the heat's working in my house now. So they're all like, wee, party, yay. This morning, I'm hearing the scuffling and I'm just like, no. I'm not getting out of bed. Like I said yesterday, I don't get out of bed till I hear squeakies. I heard a little bit of squeaking and a little bit of chuffing today. So I got out of bed. And yeah, they're chasing each other around my bedroom. And he goes and hides in the corner, the mouse. I'm not sure if this one's Peter Parker. I just put one out yesterday. I know I didn't put him far enough. He's probably the same one back in the house, but hiding behind a box that's in the corner of my room. So I get out the box that worked yesterday and I'm like, okay, let's see if we can do this. Let's do the dance. And I put the box over here and the cat's there and he runs around and the cat is just kind of like, he's there. I'm like, why aren't you doing anything? I'm like, he ran around the box and under me to hide from the cat. I'm just like, no. And I move, he runs out into the hallway. I'm like, oh boy. And out in the hallway, we all just freeze. All three of us are just looking at each other like, who's going to move first? The mouse even is like not up against the wall hiding. He's just like, what's up? And then they go and they do the dance on the stairs. He did not launch himself off, but he did some wee jumps. He did a little like, and he got past the mouse and he got past me. Like there were a lot of pauses. Yes. Oh gosh. See? Yeah, the cat got past the mouse. The cat was just like, Mom, what do I do? And I'm like, you're the one who's supposed to know what to do here. And he ran out. And the last time I saw him, he ran under the chair again. That's his go-to default because I think the mouse by this point knows. I think he's smart enough. He knows we are not going to try to catch him under there. He even looks at me sometimes before he goes under. And so I think it's Peter Parker because with the somersaults down the stairs, he did not launch himself this time, but he did some flip work to get away from the cat.
The 12 mouse stories
jump
from the other day might have been like, hey, take it easy for a while.
Yeah, but he still ends up upstairs. So so maybe he's got a little sore muscles and he's doing little jumps instead of big ones. And I was like, when he went under the chair, I was like, I'm just getting ready for work. I just can't. Later on, I peeked under the chair, knowing he wouldn't be there, knowing he's already gone and hid. I think he hides under there because there are about 8 to 10 of Avi's little fake mouse toys under there.
He thinks it's his family.
Why aren't they moving? And then he's like, cat won't find me here because we all look alike. So yeah, that was interesting. But I seared in my brain is this mouse just being like, it's like one of those superhero movies, not even hesitating, just like, I have to go now, and whoop, just leaping. Just like, the thing you don't expect. Like, she's like, I've got you now. And it's like, no, I can jump off this cliff. You don't have me. And oh my gosh, it was just, yeah. I really have to like have a heart traps and drive them over to the lake, not drown them in the lake, but put them over in the woods, not near anybody's house. But usually when this happens, it's early in the morning. I'm in my PJs. I'm not going anywhere. So I put them on Mouse Island and they probably come right back inside. I will keep working on this. But again, if I get rid of them all, what stories am I going to tell you?
We'll find.
Dun, dun, dun. Let's see if I get a weekend free of mice or not. We will tell you on Tuesday. Or if you want to, come to Sit and Stitch.
You never know what's going to show up.
They haven't climbed on my shoulder during Sit and Stitch yet, but I have seen them. I just haven't brought them on camera. So
you will get to meet Abby.
We have to go because the shop should have opened about 3 minutes ago and we have stuff to do, but I hope that was entertaining for you. please join us for knit night or Sunday sit and stitch. It's the one time of the month that this month we will do that. And we'll see you next week. Bye.
I got
Oh,
100 bound off while you were mousecapading.
Oh, that's fantastic. Really quick, subscribe, like, comment, all that stuff helps us. We are about 50 people away from having a YouTube only sale. All that stuff I just mentioned is a free way you can support us. If you would like to give us a little pittance to help with the YouTube and the shop and the tips and tricks, you can go to patreon.com and /Sun Dragon, and you can do a little monthly subscription. Any amount helps. And I feel like, was there something else? There's all kinds of fun ways you can help us out. Check out my tips and tricks channel too if you're working on something and stuck, because I might have a video on it over there. So bye. Oh, right. I'm keep going. Wait, no, this is what I want to talk about. Oh, I'm looking at this again. Love it. Write the shop. Email her if you have a Dear Becky and Lizzie question.
Liz at sundragonartandfiber.com.
Or you can write the shop. We're at 35 South Broad Street, Brevard, North Carolina, 28712.